Io got a choice. Are you serious? And she chooses Rhea. Why? It just doesn't make sense why Rhea just gets opportunity after opportunity when there is fresh matchups, fresh new faces to have title matches with. It just, she is over pushed when she doesn't need to be. She could just sit back and maybe be in the mid card, maybe form a tag team. Finn Balor and JD McDonough win the Raw Tag Team Championships. Really good tag team match. JD impressed me. I haven't really paid much attention to his matches before, but I have to say his in-ring work is damn good. But I'm just hoping these tag team champs are actually booked for shows at all. I mean, the New Day was supposed to do something off that segment with Big E, and they were champs for 3 months, and what did they really do? Gunther, for the second week in a row, comes out, cuts a whatever promo, talks tough when his opponent is in front of him, which doesn't make sense. I mean, look at the man. He's a damn unit, and his backhand chops are a lethal weapon. Why would he be afraid of Oldberg? And for that matter, Damian fucking Priest. Sheamus versus Rusev was incredibly stiff and a brutal match. These guys were not holding back on every chop, forearm, and punch. Match was worth watching the whole show. They really left it all out there. And although Sheamus lost, I'm still hopeful he'll get one last run at the IC title. Dude deserves to be a Grand Slam champion. He's had a lengthy career, and I gotta say, personally, I don't think his career started off really hot. I mean, he got a massive push, but I mean, I thought he was the shits. And just the way he developed and the rise to give us banger after banger should be awarded. There was a nice segment of brawls with Seth and Punk and Gunther. LA Knight, surprisingly, comes out at the end. It starts off with Seth interrupting Gunther's promo, after which Seth is interrupted shortly after by Punk running out there, chases off Seth. Gunther then wants to act tough, grabs Punk's arm, and he's just shoved down to the ground. And he's just laying there like a toddler who just fell. Now on to NXT. Joe Hendry versus Wesley. It was actually a really good match. Both guys brought their best. Smooth, generic wrestling match, quick and to the point. The story was more about Joe just being distracted by Trick, who was sitting at commentary the whole match. Joe wins. I'm looking forward to his rematch with Trick. Miles Bourne versus Lexis King. I was looking forward to this match, and it didn't disappoint. Both guys are incredibly athletic and good workers. Just disappointing that it was such a quick match. It was jam-packed with quality. Definitely recommend this match because it's short and it's really great. Sol Ruka and Zarya versus Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley. Now, it was a tremendous match. Sol and Tatum have the most unique and athletic movesets, but honestly, the match was hijacked by some great and hilarious commentary conversations. And the most notable line was when Vic Joseph tells Corey Graves, "You could sell a woman with white gloves a ketchup popsicle." Graves' reaction just definitely screams a PG, the fuck is this guy talking about? But all he really said was just ketchup popsicle and the most, is this guy on something reaction. On to Dynamite. Hangman and Moxley face off. Hangman demands a Texas death match, to which Moxley says no plenty of times, but talks in circles for a few minutes and then says no again. And then chaos ensues after all the commotion. Hangman ends up hitting Marina Shafir with a buckshot lariat to prove how far he's willing to go. And that's only because Marina Shafir is carrying the briefcase which holds the AEW World Championship. And then because of that, Moxley, who was then in the crowd because he had ran off, let his stooges do his dirty work for him, is tempted to come back because Hangman's holding up the briefcase. He then proceeds to angrily come back to the ring, take off his shirt for some reason, and say yes to the Texas death match. I'm definitely like looking forward to their match though. Mercedes Moné versus Mina Shirakawa. It was a pretty good match. It flowed pretty well. They managed to tell a good story. Mina was just doing everything she could to beat the champ in hopes of a title shot after that, while Mercedes was just distracted by at times focusing on Tony Storm, who's at ringside. And they left everything out there. It was a pretty good match. They had a lot of back and forth. They were having that Japan strong style at times, and roll up by Mercedes for the win. I will highlight MJF did win a fatal four way to get the number 2 spot in the Casino Battle Royale. I know the AEW faithful still love this man so much, but he doesn't need to win this match, and I hope he doesn't. It should be someone else. But give it to a guy who needs a big win. MJF can get a title shot any other way. Hell, maybe MVP can negotiate him one. Swerve and Ospreay negotiate a tag match with the Young Bucks. Bucks give up their EVP positions versus Swerve and Ospreay don't get opportunities for the world title for a year. That seems like it's going to be a really good match. I'm really hoping Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland pick up the win. Just fuck the Young Bucks. And on top of that, I watched Swerve's and Ospreay's tag team match after that. They got great chemistry as a tag team, and I hope they continue being a tag team for the remainder of the year, but knowing how AEW is with some newly formed tag teams, they're willing to break them up within a month or two. But I'm hoping Tony just keeps this one together for a while. Finally, the dreaded SmackDown. Now, there was tag team galore. From an 8-man to back-to-back tag team matches. I know I was complaining about the lack of focus on tag teams, but the 8-man was just a weird way to go about it. It was a good intention, but bad execution by Triple H. He did a member from 4 different teams versus the 4 from the White 6, which is just a weird way to go about it. He just needs to do like a tournament where you put tag teams together, maybe surprisingly of a top star and someone you would least expect. Just to make it more interesting, the tag team division just is a real afterthought at this point. And yeah, they're putting on the matches, but one thing is putting on the matches, and another thing is getting them over. There was a segment with Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill, and Trish Stratus. Tiffany chooses to face Trish at Evolution. I just don't get what's up with all this choice BS. Like, come on. Io gets a choice, Trish gets a choice just because it's Evolution, or I just don't get it. There's so much new talent contenders that can be given a high profile match, even if they have to lose. Like, it's a good thing to put them out there, have them in a match with main event talent. On the other hand, we're getting Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre for Saturday night's main event. Should be a really good match. Looking forward to it, just hoping Drew goes over, even though, yeah, I know we want Randy Orton back in the title picture, and he'll get that match eventually. We're going to get Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes too, eventually, when Cody has the title again. Of all the wrestling I watched this week, a lot of the highlights for me were AEW related, but there's a lot of quality matches throughout all of the shows. I think SmackDown was the weakest. Sure, both companies are focusing on tag team wrestling a lot now, but one thing is putting on the matches, and another thing is getting them over. I know I said that earlier, but another thing to get them invested, get people invested in them, and that's where I feel Triple H fails. He just doesn't get how to make them connect with the people instead of just going out there and putting on a wrestling match. And that's where AEW is doing better. I'll actually give him credit for this. It's nice to see top stars who can put aside their main event hopes and form tag teams like Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. I know it's only been a short amount of time, but it's nice to see because they got great chemistry, and it's a nice thing to see like top stars form tag teams instead of just being like jobbers or people that can't connect with the crowd. And that's something that WWE top stars can take notes from. Maybe step back from the main event picture if people are saying you're overpushed. Form a tag team, be a mid carder, find a way to connect with the people once again. Get the people to want you to get that push again. A little highlight for me was Tony Storm throughout the Mercedes and Mina match. Her facial expressions, I don't know how she did it. She didn't break it at all. Just this frozen paralysis state where she just sat there with the same expression throughout the whole match. Didn't break once. Just incredible that she was able to do that without breaking. I'm really looking forward to All In. There's quite a few matches with tons of potential to deliver entertaining conclusions of storylines and also maybe be a really good quality match in ring. And finally, I might be going crazy from so many hours of wrestling shows a week. But what if Drew is the one that gets to beat John Cena for the title? Drew McIntyre was once the chosen one, and he's done nothing but improve since then, even when released and having to go back to TNA and work his way back up. We praise Cody for doing what he had done way before, and come on, he's put on some of the best work of his career since the beginning of the pandemic era. We like to say Roman kind of carried the pandemic era, but Drew was champ and he had two title reigns during the pandemic era. Does anybody even remember them? There wasn't much memorable, and it was kind of hurt because of that, because of his title reigns being during that time. He was also the MVP of WWE for the last year, and before that, it was Cody Rhodes back to back years. That should say something. He's been doing probably the best mic work and promos of anyone in the past year, and I'd say he's more deserving and would be more interesting than Cody Rhodes being champ once again. That was This Week in Wrestling. See you next week.